looking, Jenny. Are we ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rosemary and I'm standing in for Ashley this morning. Good to see everybody very promptly on the call. Jenny, do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies from Councillor Ashley Tilling, who's being subbed by Councillor Alex Batchelor, and we've had apologies from Councillor Ellen Nicholson, who's being subbed by Councillor Anne-Marie Barker. We've also had apologies from Mark Tabner too.
Thanks, Jenny. Right, the minutes of the last meeting are item 2. Are we happy to agree the accuracy of the minutes? Any issues? No? Thank you. So if we go on to actions in those minutes, I think first ones are sharing the SCP work programme. I did have a comment on that actually, because we received the leaflet, the Essential Services leaflet, which I presume has been delivered to everybody. I wasn't expecting it. It's just that it's just when it was delivered. I wondered if perhaps we should have been informed when it was coming out to back up the communications on that, because it's got all the information about recycling, and I'm just worried about some of them going in the bin because of the cover. Does that make sense? And I don't know if anyone else has noticed that.
I've seen it online. I haven't seen the paper version. What's on the? I can't. What's on the cover?
Well, it says Essential Services.
Right.
I have to say, ours lay around for a few days before we opened it and found it. Yeah. It had the recycling information in it.
I believe that could be communication that was put together by Surrey County Council.
Yeah.
I think within that wider communication, within that, there was a spread about simpler recycling.
Yeah.
So it's something that they've done and communicated out to all households, I believe, in the county. So I wasn't aware that they hadn't sort of informed sort of members as per the plans for that communication. I mean, we've got our own sort of plans for communications that we've been telling you about, but I believe that's that. If I've got that right.
Yes, it's a really helpful spread in that in that leaflet. It's just that perhaps we could have done some groundwork.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to sort of use that sort of opportunity of that sort of wider piece going out to include a bit around sort of simpler recycling, given that obviously the legislation kicks in from the end of this month, and obviously as shown in the papers today, we'll be collecting a few more sort of additional dry recycling materials. But I can feed that back at the next SEP group in terms of the planning.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful just so that people have looked at that. Thank you. And there was an action for Ashley. I think he followed that up with you, Nick, did he? Asking the portfolio holder for environment about the latest SCP news.
Yes, that might have come my way potentially. I mean, I shared with all of the portfolio holders all the information that I had from the Surrey Environment Partnership in terms of their programme and plans and sort of campaigns that they were planning for the year ahead. So that may relate to that action there.
Okay, thank you. And discussion of the workshop for in Mold Valley has completed, I think. JWS to investigate composition analysis and distribute more information on this to local authorities.
Yeah, so we haven't received anything yet. So that is a project that was being delivered by SEP under the County Council. We were involved in, coordinating the bits that affected our services, but we haven't received any results from that composition analysis yet. But when we do, we will share it with you.
Lovely, thank you, Kelly. Then the next one is Amy to send presentation and slides to the committee members, which we received. Thank you. Then there's one for me. I don't actually remember what those routes were, but I assume we sorted it out. And then JWS and Amy to look at further communications and what actions to take on the presentation of additional bins that should not be collected. Is there anything to report on that?
So we have been having regular meetings and discussions about what to do with this. It's not solved yet, but there are sort of actions and steps being taken to try and find a resolution.
Thank you.
Kelly, just can I just step in there? I think there's still some issues obviously we have, because a lot of these additional bins are at problem sites, traveller sites, and we're faced with the issue at the moment. There's a significantly higher number of containers to pick up. If we don't pick them up, our staff face potential violence. But you guys have said that you won't pay us to pick up the additional containers yet. So we're in a position where we either pick up nothing or we pick up everything, but we're not being paid for all these additional containers, and it's quite significant.
So it's not really a conversation that I can pick up in this forum, but there is a side conversation where there is a commercial offering as part of the other discussions going on.
Yeah, just we need an instruction from you to pick up the additional containers. That's all, because you said you won't pay us unless you give us an instruction, but you won't give us an instruction. So it is a difficult one, because this is a health and safety issue. Really, we can't attend these sites and pick up what we are contractually obliged to pick up. And a lot of it actually is not domestic waste either. There's a lot of trade waste mixed in with it. So it's really difficult.
So like I say, there is a commercial offering with you to review, and we're waiting for whether you're willing to accept that offering.
Thanks, Kelly. I think we completed that item. Okay. Declaration of interest. I'm sorry, we probably should have done that earlier. Does anybody have any disclosable pecuniary interest? Thank you. So I think we're on to item 4. Who's presenting the quarterly performance report?
So that will be me.
Thanks, Kelly.
No, that's fine. Joe is going to share the slides for me so that I can still see the notes to support it.
Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so there's a paper in the agenda pack which gives you an update on recycling, residual waste and operational performance for Q3, which is October to December of 25-26. These slides basically summarise the information that is in that pack. If we can go on to the next slide, please, Joe. Okay, so before moving on to the Joint Contract Authority detail, this slide gives an overview of the wider Surrey curbside performance for Q3 compared with Q3 of the previous year. So it's Q3 of 25-26 to Q3 of 24-25. Across Surrey as a whole, the dry mixed recycling is slightly down. The food waste has increased modestly. The residual waste is broadly flat, and garden waste has risen significantly. At individual authority level, the picture is more varied, although the most consistent trend is the strong increase in garden waste across all of the areas. Mole Valley shows a notable reduction in the residual waste, while Woking stands out for a larger decrease in the dry mixed recycling alongside an increase in the residual waste. Food waste trends are mixed. There's increases in Mole Valley and Woking, but decreases in Elmbridge and Surrey Heath. Councillor Barker.
Thank you. I just want to pick up on that Woking figure and see if we had, I don't know if you're going to come on to it, so please let me know if you are, any understanding of why there does seem to be a sort of a connection there potentially between the reduced recycling and the increased residual waste. Are we seeing kind of contaminated waste? Is that what's causing this, or people just failing to split their materials? Any ideas what's behind that, Kelly?
So we're actually doing a deep dive project into it at the moment to try and get a better understanding of what is driving that situation. Generally, from an operational perspective, we're not seeing anything different than is happening elsewhere. So we're not seeing, significant loads of, with contaminated loads being rejected or anything like that. We have identified in the past some operational issues which have been corrected. So this time we're not quite sure what is driving that change. So like I say, we've got a deep dive project going on at the moment. And once we get more information around that, we'll share it with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, if we can move on to the next slide then, Jay. Thank you. So this is now looking at the dry mixed recycling performance for Q3 of 25-26. For the quarter-on-quarter comparison of tonnages across the 4 streams, the dry mixed recycling increased in Elmbridge by 20 tonnes, Mole Valley by 47 tonnes, Surrey Heath by 85 tonnes, and as we've said, it fell in Woking, and that was by 205 tonnes. For the food waste, Elmbridge fell by 34 tonnes, Surrey Heath by just 6 tonnes, whereas Mole Valley rose by 32 tonnes and Woking by 28 tonnes. Onto the garden waste. So the garden waste increased in Elmbridge by 165 tonnes, 204 tonnes in Mole Valley, 202 in Surrey Heath, and 239 in Woking. Councillor Rise.
Kelly, just on the garden waste, have we seen a uptake in new subscribers to this? Because what we're seeing across the board is that garden waste is increasing. Is this just, I guess this is a similar question to what Anne-Marie just asked, was how do we explain that? Is it from new subscribers, or is it just more the same number of people disposing of more garden waste?
So it's a mixed picture, if I'm honest, to answer that. So we have seen an uplift in subscribers in some of the authorities, but not in all of them. Garden waste is obviously very dependent on weather, and other circumstances, and it can be heavier if it's rained, because obviously that becomes wet, and it's much heavier material to deal with. What you've also got to think about is we had a very, very dry summer last year. Everything was brown, and then all of a sudden everything became green and grew, and the autumn time we saw a significant amount of tonnage coming through the system. So there's a lot of factors that can influence it, but like I say, we have seen an increase in subscribers in some areas. Okay, moving on to the residual waste. So the residual waste fell by 15 tonnes in Elmbridge, 402 in Mole Valley, but it increased by 144 tonnes in Surrey Heath and 196 in Woking. Looking now
Kelly,
at...
sorry.
Oh, yes.
Can we just go back to that one?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Surrey Heath did increase by 140 something tonnes, because that's only 44 tonnes there. If
Oh,
if
maybe
my
that's a
maths is right.
typo. Yeah, it
Sorry.
is. You're absolutely right.
you.
I think that might be. Oh no, hang on, it's not even 44, is it?
It's 24.
24.
22,
20,
sorry.
22. Yeah. I'll go back and check that one. Thank you for
Thanks.
spotting. Okay. On to the next slide then, Joe. So this slide compares the recycling and residual waste tonnages across Surrey and the joint contractor authorities for the 12 months to December 2025, with the same period that ended in December 2024. So across Surrey overall, the dry mixed recycling has decreased slightly by -1.3%. Food waste has risen modestly by 1.4%. The residual waste is broadly stable with a slight reduction at 0.5%, and the garden waste has reduced significantly over the year at 10.6%. At the joint contract authority level, the garden waste has fallen in all areas, ranging from -7.8 in Elmbridge to -14.3 in Surrey Heath. The residual waste increased in Mole Valley at +1.4 and Surrey Heath at +3.2%, while Elmbridge recorded a reduction of -3 and Woking remained broadly flat. The dry mixed recycling did decline across all authorities, and the food waste presents a mixed picture with decreases in Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Surrey Heath, but an increase in Woking. So looking over the 12-month period, the dry mixed recycling tonnages fell in Elmbridge by 67 tonnes, Mole Valley by 180 and Woking by 395, while Surrey Heath saw an increase of 32 tonnes. I'm checking that one's right, Councillor Risen, it is. Okay, so for food waste, Elmbridge fell by 96 tonnes, Surrey Heath by 54, while Mole Valley increased by 17 and Woking by 102 tonnes. Garden waste. So garden waste fell quite sharply across all of the areas. Elmbridge saw a reduction of 691 tonnes, Mole Valley of 748, Surrey Heath by 624 and Woking by 635. Residual waste fell by 539 tonnes in Mole Valley, 378 in Elmbridge, while Surrey Heath saw an increase of 287 and Woking by 46 tonnes. So looking at the recycling rate, Councillor Rise.
Thank you, Kelly. Just on those figures, are we, again, I think this is probably something that you're doing in your deep dive, are we seeing any trends come out of what's explaining those changes? Is actually the lower number of tonnage, is the smaller tonnage actually good in a sense, because actually there's less waste, so people are throwing away less? So I'm just wondering, how do we explain those changes, especially in the garden waste and the DMR? I'm just wondering if that's something that's come, if you've had that thought at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, what we're seeing is very much in line with what's happening nationally. I think what will be interesting is with simpler recycling coming in and people getting more communications about what can and can't be recycled. It would be interesting to see kind of what, impact that has. That we obviously had, the impact of COVID, where, we saw more waste coming into the system from people being at home. And we've seen, the tonnages start, tailoring off since COVID happened, but they seem to be tailoring off more on the recycling side than they are on the residual side, which to me is a behaviour thing. And it's trying to get people to, go back to previous practices and recycling as much as they can. I think perhaps, there's an element of complacency, or perhaps people forgetting what can and can't be recycled. So I think simpler recycling is an opportunity for us to try and communicate and refresh people on what can and can't go into those recycling bins. And then obviously when we've got the introduction next year of flexible plastics, that will have a significant, or hopefully have a significant impact on our performance as well. Garden waste, as I say, garden waste is very difficult because it's very much weather dependent, and we did have a very dry summer last summer. Okay. So on the recycling rate, we've compared again the quarterly and the 12-month positions. So for the quarterly trends, all areas improved compared to Q3 of the previous year. All of Surrey increased by plus 2.1%. Mole Valley saw the largest improvement at 2.9%, followed by Surrey Heath at 1.4 and Elmbridge at 1.1. And again, this is due to sort of stronger waste performance. Woking remained broadly stable with a small increase of 0.2%, but that was largely due to the drop in the dry mixed recycling tonnages, which, as I said, we're looking into to see what's happened. On the 12-month trends, the longer term picture is more mixed. All of Surrey improved slightly at plus 0.4%, with small increases at Elmbridge, plus 0.3%. But Mole Valley, Surrey Heath and Woking show declines over the 12-month rolling period at 0.3%, 1% and 1.5%, sorry, 1%, 1.5% and 0.6% reductions. So moving now on to the contract KPI performance for this quarter compared to the last. Elmbridge shows a more mixed position this quarter, so miscollections remained within the target overall, although October did reach the threshold. There was a spike in the miscollections not rectified within the SLA in October, which improved in the following months. Street cleaning performance improved compared to earlier in the year, and the litter survey continued to meet target. However, the detritus survey did exceed the 8% threshold. The fly tipping, fly posting and graffiti non-removal improved slightly, but still remained quite high, and there were no waste separation failures reported for this quarter. So moving on to Mole Valley. Mole Valley shows continued pressure across kind of the core collection of the KPIs. Miscollections remain significantly above target throughout the quarter, and miscollections not rectified within SLA increased sharply, particularly in December. Repeated miscollections fluctuated across the quarter, but reduced notably in December, and assisted collection failures remain present but broadly stable. Fly posting and graffiti non-removal increased towards the end of the quarter, and the litter survey performance remains within the 4% target, but the detritus surveying exceeded the 8% threshold. Moving on to Surrey Heath. So Surrey Heath shows a stable position for this quarter, with miscollections remaining well within the target and overall volumes being relatively low. Miscollections not rectified within the SLA reduced to 0 during this quarter, and there were no street cleaning or fly tipping, fly posting or graffiti failures recorded. The litter survey performance did remain within the target. However, the detritus surveying slightly exceeded the 8% threshold. And on to Woking. So Woking remained broadly steady this quarter, with miscollections well within the target and relatively consistent across the period. Miscollections not rectified within SLA increased slightly in December, but remained low overall. Failures to carry out collections reduced compared to earlier months, and repeat miscollections remain low. Reported spillages were minimal and reduced by the end of the quarter. So overall, the performance remains stable with no significant areas of concern in Woking. And that concludes my presentation. I will say thank you very much to Nick and his team for putting together the slides and the notes for me.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Just one or two points about Mole Valley. It's quite clear that there were significant issues before Christmas. I have to say that this quarter looks much better. So I hope that continues. I just wanted to ask about the graffiti, which I think is lumped in with other things on your slide, but I'm not aware. I think the graffiti removal stopped last summer. We haven't seen any recently. Is that correct? And is it being remedied?
I think I'm going to have to defer to Ian George I know there was an issue with the graffiti vehicle. My understanding was that it had been resolved and the vehicle was back on the road, but I'll go to Ian.
So, Councillor Hobbs, yeah, your information's incorrect. So we did an actual a week of graffiti busting in Mole Valley, which we did. So we have still continued. The vehicle had been off the road for some time. It is now back on the road and it is out 1 day a week, currently in Mole Valley. And I believe yesterday, after a conversation I had yesterday, there was 5 tickets outstanding that were being done today in terms of graffiti and reports.
Well, that sounds brilliant. I just keep looking at the same one that's been.
But has it been reported?
Oh yeah, yes, it's in St Martin's Walk car park. Yes, it was reported many months ago, and the graffiti week was very well received.
Yeah,
that was very successful. But it's the ongoing. There are a couple of areas where.
Okay, I'll check that one particularly. I have seen something about that, and I'm not sure if that is an access issue or what we're actually using. So I will check that one for you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else got any? Morgan.
Thank you, Rosemary. Just on the detritus, so that's the first time I've seen in Surrey Heath maybe that it's gone above the, so this is the first time I'm asking this, is what's the next step of that process? So what does what does JWS and Amy do to kind of address that point, if that's the right question to ask?
Okay,
Kelly, do you want me to take that? Do you want me to take that one? Because Surrey Heath's quite simple.
Yeah, if I just give a very quick intro and I'll hand over to you. So, Councillor Rice, because it wasn't a full % over the threshold, there was no deductions applied because the deductions start at a full %. So they'd have to trigger the 9%. However, I will hand over to Ian to talk about Michelle's approach.
Yeah, so Councillor Rice, you know what Michelle's like. She's very disappointed in that. She knew it was coming. And she was honest with us because she struggled to, right from the start of the leafing process in October, she struggled to get manpower. Literally everybody that was coming in as an additional sweeper, we get additional sweepers in for that period of time, was either, I'll be quite crude, failing drug tests or not up to the role or just not turning up. So I think for the whole of that period, she really struggled to get the full fleet out through no fault of her own, just through that. So I was pleased with where they were in terms of what I knew on what Michelle thought as well. So in terms of that, that's the reasoning behind it. We're currently in the process as well now, so we'll see how that goes.
Thanks. So
Sorry, Morgan, go on.
Sorry, thank you. Thanks, Ian. And I was I suspected that Michelle would not have been happy being anything above anywhere near 8%. But it was more of in terms of how does JWS kind of and Amy I guess work together to address those if there are any of these is that very much on Michelle and Amy to resolve, or is there anything that JWS can do to kind of support the depot in kind of finding that it was? And I completely accept that it was a unique situation, and I probably expect we won't go back to it. But it's just wanted to make sure that do we have the procedures and everything in place to provide the support to the depot to make sure that they are kind of fully manned and able to not be stressed like Michelle most likely got. I'm just wondering, does that question make sense?
It does. I suppose it's our, as Amy, it's our responsibility to find that manpower, and sometimes it's just not there. You know, we've known of driver shortages before, and you know, and driving a sweeper is a specialist role. You know, she was trying from June to get these people in place, and just it wasn't with any success. I suppose lessons learned from us. Do we share the resources from other depots if we need to, if she is struggling that much? So we'll see how we go this year.
Can I just pick up on that issue, because obviously there's a detritus issue in Mole Valley. Now, Councillor Tilling raised something the other day. He was very pleased to see that notices had been put out on streets where there was parking, and that had been successful at improving clearing detritus in the gutters. And I wondered if that was a policy you're now bringing in everywhere, because this is of concern in I'm sure in all areas where you've got on street parking, and in Mole Valley it's near the stations most often. So is this something that can be done in Mole Valley to avoid us getting reports in those particular areas?
So obviously we that's something that we've taken on board and something that we can roll out. Yeah, I mean, you know, lad surveys in general, there's some disappointment from our point of view in terms of lads and the surveys being outsourced, and we haven't been able to join the surveys, especially this quarter, and especially in Mole Valley in December. So it was disappointing that this was done, and we haven't received anything, but that's in my presentation.
Is that when you say you weren't able to join?
Well, we didn't, Councillor Oaks, we didn't know when the surveys were taking place. I can be honest now and say we've attempted to contact the company on numerous occasions this quarter without success. They haven't answered the phone to us, and when we have joined them, they've been quite standoffish with us.
Thank you. Any other comments on the report? Thank you. I think we can move on, can we? So item 5 is that you, Ian, the Amy improvement plan update?
It is, yeah. It's just I'll give you an update on that. So I'll share my screen. Tell me when you can see it, and I'll put it in presentation mode.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So this will be, I extend mine a little bit more than Kelly and her team. So we've got 6 months worth of information in here for you, just on how we see the service at the moment. So the key headlines is, we'll go depot by depot. Elmbridge, we've had some long-term sick issues with the site manager. That site manager, just to let you know, has now left the business. We have recruited into the position there now, and that new site manager will start with Amy in May of this year. So that's some progression we've got, and hopefully we can get some stability into Elmbridge over the next coming months. So the street services has improved over the last 3 months, which is really encouraging. We identified a hole in the service. So they've shown improvement. We're doing things differently there, alongside what we do at the other depots, and they're just getting used to that. So, but we have seen a marked improvement. The garden waste service does raise concerns for us at Elmbridge, because we're having to use additional hours and resources to complete this service every week. Now, this is a subscription service, very heavily subscribed on certain days. So there's a project at the moment, there's meetings going on of identifying these levels of volumes, and that's in terms of the number of properties we service each day and the number of containers that each property has. So we're in conversations with JWS, and I believe we have a meeting today to go and talk about that, and how we can improve that service, and so we can get the service done on the days that it is required, instead of using the Saturday as a catch-up usually, or overtime. So we're looking at that. And you know, there's also identification of excessive containers at sites, as George mentioned earlier, at problem areas, as we'll call them at the moment, at Elmbridge. So that is part of a project that's going on at the moment, and they are significant numbers over and above what these people should have. So Mole Valley, over the last 6 months, we've had the workshop, which did cause an issue. It's all been repaired now, and they're back in there. They have been fully back in since January of this year. So that did cause a lot of tension at the site, and also a lot of service failures due to having to run vehicles around to additional workshops, third-party off-takers. So we're having to use frontline staff to do that, which then we were on occasions unable to complete the service on the day specified. The roof did show some leakage after the floor was done, but that's in hand with Mole Valley, and thank you, Emma, for sorting that out. And as mentioned earlier, the LAD survey in December caused some stress in the depot due to it being outsourced and us not being able, or not knowing when it commenced. We accept it can go to third parties, but we'd like to be involved in going out and looking at these surveys so we can debate them on the day of the survey. And that has been repeated in this quarter as well at both Mole Valley and Surrey Heath. So we'll move on to Surrey Heath. Real good performance from Surrey Heath over the last 6 months, and as put in there is some disappointment from Michelle, and those of you that know Michelle, when Michelle's disappointed, we all know about it. So they have the fact that the lads have started in February, which has never been done in February before, and I know on numerous occasions they've tried to contact the company without success. And they have one of the biggest issues of a problem site as well, which they're attending, and JWS, we're in conversations with them on there. Woking, what can I say about Woking? This quarter particularly, they've outshone everybody. They've performed so well. You know, you're probably all aware that we lost a valued member of staff at Woking in January for a road traffic accident, but as with anything at Woking, they all rallied round and completed the service with as least problems as they could for the public. The fortnightly meetings we've been having with JWS, they did stop for a period of time. We have reinstated them now, and you know, the topics for discussion are limited due to the ongoing outside influences we have as well. And the other thing we do need to sort out is the national insurance payment that we are owed at the moment for the legislation change last year. So moving on to the health and safety, this is from September to the end of February. We had over 500 close calls entered in that period for varying issues, a few accidents and injuries, which you can see there over that period. Slips, trips are a big concern, especially when it's icy. And we had 2 riddles in that period as well. One in November, when a member of the staff trapped their finger at Woking Depot in a gate, and had a prolonged period of time off for that. And the other one in January, when, as just mentioned, there was a slip on an icy surface by a member of staff and banged his head, and wanted to come back to work, but the doctors wouldn't let him. So it came into off for more than 7 days. Yeah, so that's our health and safety performance in that period. In terms of the service, you can see here, this is 6 months worth of data. Elmbridge, we had a spike in the service in October. We identified that spike, and they've been fairly consistent throughout the rest of that period, which is really pleasing. Mole Valley, very similar. We noticed the spike here was in January, just as we still had some vehicles that were off at third parties, so there was a few issues. December's spike was, we had quite a bad, nasty sickness bug that went through Mole Valley, particularly in December. So left us with some short-term manpower issues. As you can see from there, Surrey Heath and Woking performed really, really well. And the streets on the right-hand side of your screen at Elmbridge, with the identification in September, October of where the issues were, they've performed fairly consistently better since then, which is really pleasing. And Mole Valley has been fairly consistent in their penalties received for streets. So Woking, we don't do streets, and they're vying for #1 spot with Surrey Heath, but I'm sure Michelle won't let that happen. And there's our sickness over this period of time, which is really pleasing, considering when I first came into the contract, we were nearly 15-16% sickness. We are below the national average there, so it's really good that people don't go off sick now. Just moving forward, the workshops, what we do. So there's a lot that's been completed in the workshops, and the workshops are performing really, really well. The vehicles are being kept on the road for a lot more than what they used to be. We looks like we won't be recruiting an apprentice at Surrey Heath Workshop now, just because the manpower levels are where we require them at the moment. And as mentioned before, the workshop has been resolved at Mole Valley, so there's no risk there anymore, and it's working well, and Matt is happy, which is really pleasing when you walk in Mole Valley Depot now. Just some stuff that we're focusing on, obviously the Mole Valley and Elmbridge street services were a focus for us. I wouldn't say we're 100% there, but we're probably 95% there now on what we identified and what the needs are. We have a good monitoring on our KPIs weekly now, which can be seen from challenges that we make to the depot managers on why certain things spike. And each depot has its own individual plan for its KPI failings, which my operations manager takes control of on a weekly basis. And I would say, touch wood, we've had a really good response on third parties now. That we're not being held up at landfills anymore, or tip sites anymore, not landfills, sorry. And if we do, they're responded to really quickly on any failings. Health and safety issues, what we've got a target this year on health and safety, so we want more close calls. The feedback on close calls is going back to the crews. We're also feeding more information into JWS, and then we're getting that information back and dealing with the health and safety issues that the frontline staff are seeing at particular sites. That does come into what you said, Councillor Hobbs, about the parked car issue as well. So that we're identifying it from the frontline staff saying they can't do stuff. So we're approaching and putting the leaflets out so we can do these areas. And that also includes parked cars that are blocking access to residential areas, so we can't get the vehicles through at certain points during the day. So that's really encouraging that these people are identifying this, and we're feeding back. And when they see movement on things being done, we get more information back from them, and that's encouraging from us, our point of view. Environmental actions, we've fully trained all our guys on the waste transfer notes now, making sure they're all compliant and for legal reasons. We are looking at and we are reducing our vehicle idling, and this is being monitored on a weekly basis, and we are targeted for this. So trying to reduce fuel usage, carbon footprint. It's encouraging that the depots are now taking this seriously. And then we're looking into the simpler recycling legislation on food waste, and encouraging people to recycle more. I think it confuses people as well, but that's my personal opinion. Just in terms of where we are in terms of our recovery and business update, garden waste, big project going on at the moment in terms of volumes that we are collecting. It has increased significantly, which you can see over the number of subscriptions that you've got now in all 4 areas. So I think we're at a tipping point now on, can we collect what we used to collect with what we used to collect, or do we need extra resource for them collections, which is what the project is predominantly about. Our zero code, which is our health and safety, we're looking at, we don't do stand down days, we do group meetings, which are they're finishing on them off this quarter, so that will be 100% done. But it's all work in progress with our health and safety there. White space, don't know of any issues with white space at the moment. It seems to be working, and we're in conversations with them. I think just price increases at the moment is going through in the next few weeks, so we'll keep on top of that with them and see if we can get more information out of what we use existing already. So it's quite encouraging with white space. I've met with their operations manager to see what we can get reports wise out of white space to use for ourselves, and maybe you guys can use it as well for information going forward. In terms of operations, route optimization at Woking is almost, well, it is complete. We just need to implement it. There's no changes to any days. It's just certain routes have been moved around to make them more efficient. So no impact to the residents there. Route optimization at Surrey Heath in terms of the cross boundary with Woking, it's a little bit on hold because we're waiting for county still on information from them and meetings about whether it can be done. So that's the operations, and fleet and maintenance is working really well at the moment. Now we've stopped using the third parties, everything's back in house, and the vehicles that are off the road are at a comfortable level that we can manage on a daily basis. And the fleet, touch wood, is in a good working order. That is from me. Any questions?
I can see a question. Anne-Marie.
Thank you. First of all, apologies that my camera isn't on. It's decided to turn itself off. It's on the blink, I think. I don't know what's going on. It's done it a few times recently. I can't get it back on again, so my apologies. I just wanted to really pass on my condolences for the sad loss of the staff member in Woking, and just to thank Amy really for how well the day ran when the funeral took place. When obviously a lot of people wanted to go along to that, but there was still waste to be collected. And yeah, we've got plenty of advance warning that might be happening, but yeah, it all seemed to run really smoothly. I didn't get sort of complaints about that, so thanks very much for that. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, no, I'll pass that on to the depot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things. It's good to hear about the project on the parked cars. Thank you, Ian, and the reduced idling, which I'm sure we'd all approve of. I just wanted to ask on the white space. I know there's I think there's an issue at Mill Valley to do with feedback to integrate into our IT system. I think that's the issue. Emma may know more about it, but is this still outstanding?
I think I'm going to have to revert to Emma on that one, Councillor Hobbs.
I think we heard from Lynn the last couple of days, Ian, that the integration was successful and that she'd done a successful test. So, would you mind double checking with Tracy or Carrie, and I'll check with our IT team, but I think we might be there.
Yeah, no, I will.
We
I'll
appreciate
check
your help
Lynn.
with that, Ian, as well.
Yeah, I'm on a meeting with Lynn a bit later, so I'll check with her then. Yeah.
Thank you. Morgan.
Thank you. Just when you mentioned the individual plans per depot, is there any chance that we might be able to see them? Obviously, if there's anything that's kind of company confidential, I would understand that would have to be taken. But it would be really useful, I think, if just for us to kind of keep an eye on what's being done. I think I would find that really useful, if that's possible to see them.
I will look at what's in them, Councillor Rise, and see what I can allow you to have access to. Yeah.
Obviously, I would never expect you to give me confidential data.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I can't see any other hands, and it is useful to have the copy of the presentation.
I will send that. Yeah, that's no problem. I will send
lovely.
that.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I've got a second page, but I can't see any hands. So we'll move on to item 6, which is a verbal update. Is this you, Kelly? Or JWS verbal update on priorities 26-27?
It is me, yes. So the joint contract priorities. So what we tend to do each year is, try and think about what the priority areas are for us. So that when Ian goes away to develop the improvement plan for 26-27, we can agree sort of the priority areas of focus that we'd like Amy to work on. So the suggestions that we've put forward for this year is number 1, street cleaning, because I think we're all in agreement that there needs to be a bit more of a focus on the street cleaning side of things. Number 2, IT. So this is making sure that, all the IT systems are fit for purpose and working, and in a state to be able to hand over information to the new contractor. And then number 3, we've got as exit management. So this is obviously, the managing the handover between Amy and whoever is going to come in as the new contractor in June 27. So essentially what we wanted to do was just get everybody's agreement with those 3 priorities, or if there was something that you felt should be in the mix as well. Is everybody happy with those 3? Morgan's nodding. Oh, Councillor Hobbs, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. I can't see any comments, but they sound good to me. Anyone wanted to comment? No, I think we're all happy with that. Thank you, Carrie.
Lovely, thank you.
And then we've got the work programme update. Is this Nick?
That's me on this one for the update on the current year's work programme.
Thank you.
So I will, talk you, just do a bit of an intro on what's included here. So the report you have includes an update on the current 25-26 joint contract work programme, covering the period from late November through to mid-February. So follows on from the last update that was presented to the committee in December. Overall, we've got good progress continuing to be made across service delivery, communications and the re-procurement. During this period, we've improved services at a number of sites by working closely with residents, managing agents and other stakeholders. We've also supported a number of new developments, ensuring full collection services are in place from first occupation. In terms of service continuity, we've secured an agreement with Printwaste to continue collections from Tetra Pak banks in Elmbridge and Mole Valley. Currently that's agreed through to June 2026, because as you know, that material will be going in the DMR bins very shortly. The rollout of separate food waste collections to communal properties has also continued to progress well. There were nearly 3,000 properties added in Elmbridge and just over 1,100 in Surrey Heath in the last few months. Early monitoring of those shows good levels of food waste is being diverted from the residual bins, supporting recycling performance and helping to reduce disposal costs. Residents have been kept informed of any service disruptions through regular communications across different channels. Digital engagement continues to be used effectively to support residents and respond to queries. The 2026 service guides and calendars were published online. We've taken what we hope is a sensible approach to printing these to make sure that that was aligned with the upcoming simpler recycling changes rather than having to do sort of 2 iterations. The re-procurement activity is also remaining on track. Evaluation and moderation of the initial tender stage was completed and feedback was issued, and 3 bidders are now in competitive dialogue with the contract award still targeted for July 2026. There's a full breakdown of the progress against all the activities in the programme in Annex 1 of the report. We are asking that the committee note that the progress that's been made and the achievements delivered during the period. But if you've got any questions, then please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the arrangement with the Bring Banks, the Tetra Packs and the Carton contracts. I know Ashley was very pleased about that. If there are no other questions, are we happy to agree the programme? Thank you. So are you going straight on to item 8, Joe?
That's myself,
Oh, that's
Councillor
Nick.
Hobbs. Sorry
Okay,
to
sorry.
confuse you. Yeah, I know that I've drafted most of the papers, and the divvying up of them between us, I admit, is a bit confusing. Yeah, so it's me presenting this item. So yeah, so as you all know, there's a report in the agenda pack which explains how we've developed the proposed 26-27 work programme, which we are required to do each year. So just to sort of briefly explain the sort of process. So looking ahead to 26-27, there are a number of pressures and changes for us to manage. These include preparing for the exit of the current contractor and the mobilisation of a new one, as well as responding to local government reorganisation. So because of this, we've taken a structured approach to prioritising our work with the aim of putting forward a programme that is sort of realistic and focused on sort of maintaining service continuity, compliance and good governance. So what we've done, we've reviewed the existing programme that Joe's just taken you through using a prioritisation method, which allowed us to categorise activities as either a must-have, should have, could have, or won't have. We've also carried out some horizon scanning to identify any new activities likely to arise in the near future, and then have applied the same prioritisation approach to those. So as a result, the core 26-27 programme includes only the must-have and should-have activities. Could-have items will only be progressed if capacity allows, and won't-have items have been removed to avoid overcommitting resources. Overall, the programme is therefore sort of tightly focused on maintaining safe and reliable services, managing contractor exit and mobilisation, continuing to meet statutory and contractual obligations, and supporting governance, risk management, and delivering communications where these are important to service delivery. So to help deliver this programme, we will also be making some small internal adjustments to how we deploy our resources. This will involve a small internal reshuffle so that capacity is focused on the areas of greatest pressure, particularly contractor mobilisation and exit management. We've already started looking at this internally, and we believe it can all be done within existing staffing levels simply by making sort of better use of the resources we already have. So further details on the proposed work programme are set out in the report annexes, and today we're asking the committee to support the proposed work programme for 26-27, but of course we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
No problem.
Does anybody have any questions? Morgan.
Thank you. It's just with regards to the chewing gum grants, which are not going to be progressed. I've always thought they've been done very well, and I think they receive quite good feedback from residents. I know Rosemary herself was photographed operating one of the machines. So I'm wondering, is there scope to bring that into a could have rather than a won't have? That if there is, so just to not cut it off completely. I'm just wondering if that's possible.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is when we've been looking at stuff, something has had to sort of give to allow us to sort of focus on some of the stuff that's coming down the sort of chain. With that particular initiative, as you know, we applied for funding, grant funding to be able to do that initiative. Unfortunately, the deadline for doing that, I think, has just expired. Am I right in saying that, Joe? I think or it's just about to expire, maybe tomorrow or something like that. So we're in a position at the moment where we've just taken that sort of decision to say, well, because there's so much going on at the moment and there'll be a lot of work required in putting that application together for the fund, we've decided at this stage not to go ahead with it. But if it is the desire of the committee, it is something that we could look at in sort of further rounds in the future. But for this round at the moment, we've said sort of no. But yeah, Joe, I see you've got your hand up. Please come in.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with it this year was obviously it's the timeline for delivering that project and applying for the funding is dictated by the funders, the Chewing Gum Task Force, and the deadlines and the delivery timeline clashes with a lot of work that we have to do within a certain period, particularly around the re-procurement. So a large number of members of the team are involved in assessing those elements of those bids, and that would have been coinciding with quite a peak point in delivering that chewing gum work if we had progressed with that. We did, Matt, who has sort of led on that delivering that project in the past, did join the sort of information sessions delivered by Keep Britain Tidy, and there also were some other considerations we had around revisiting the same areas which we didn't think would be result in a successful application from our point of view. The types of cleaning we have used in the past were quite specific to certain types of paving, and effectively we would be having to go back to some areas if we were going to deliver it again. And the sense that we got from the sort of the funding briefings was that, you know, they were looking to expand upon what had been done before rather than sort of covering same areas. So there were quite a few factors we considered when we looked at this and thought that for this year it wasn't the right project to put in the programme for a number of reasons. But as Nick said, if the funding continues and it's available in the future, we absolutely haven't ruled out going down that road again.
Do you want to come back, Morgan?
Yes, please. I think I do understand that. Thank you, Chairman Nick. I guess my concern is that if we move it into a won't have, my concern is that it drops off and then we don't pick it back up. So if you're certain that the next time it opens, we'll review it again, I'm happy. I completely understand. For this year, we're at a very, as you said, we're at a kind of pinch point of a lot of things. But if you can if we can guarantee that we will look at it again, and it's a similar with the food recycling rollouts. It is just I don't want us to say no now and never pick it back up. That's what I'm concerned with.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So yeah, we will, as part of the next iteration of this, ensure that that's reviewed. And yeah, as we said, if an opportunity arises with the fund, you know, again in this year, we can look at it again. All right.
Thank you on that. I think I agree. I can see the issues, but certainly it's well received locally. So I hope it's looked at each time it arrives.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't see any other comments, so we need to agree the work programme. Are we happy to agree it?
Yes.
I think so. Thank you. Right. So I think that ends the public part of the meeting. Is that right, Jenny?
Yes, that's correct.